Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and friends, Ayubowan and good evening. On behalf of the High Commission of Sri Lanka in Singapore, I extend a very warm welcome to all of you joining us virtually on this very special occasion today, as we celebrate the 74th anniversary of independence of Sri Lanka. Let us begin the proceedings with the national anthem of Singapore, followed by the national anthem of Sri Lanka. Her Excellency Sashikala Premawardhana, High Commissioner of Sri Lanka to Singapore, will now address the virtual gathering.
His Excellency Desmond Tan, Minister of State, Ministry of Home Affairs and Ministry of Sustainability and the Environment of Singapore, His Excellency Chandra Das, Non-Resident High Commissioner of Singapore to Sri Lanka, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to extend a warm welcome to all those joining us virtually to commemorate the 74th anniversary of Sri Lanka's independence. I take this opportunity to thank our guest of honor, His Excellency Desmond Tan, for accepting our invitation to participate in this event. I look forward to hearing the Minister's view on this very important bilateral relationship that Singapore and Sri Lanka share. To all those joining us virtually today, we are extremely pleased that you have taken some time to connect with us on this significant occasion for all Sri Lankans and friends of Sri Lanka. We hope to be able to greet you in person and warmly welcome you to a physical event next year, pandemic permitting, when Sri Lanka celebrates the 75th anniversary of its independence. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in the last 2.5 years, the COVID-19 pandemic has had a devastating impact on humanity as a whole. Sri Lanka, as a developing nation, had to grapple with multiple challenges in facing the pandemic. The economy in particular felt the brunt, with key sectors such as tourism, foreign labour and the apparel industry being affected. Restrictions that had to be placed in place to control the pandemic also impacted on many small businesses, the self-employed and the daily income earners. The government, led by President His Excellency Gotabaya Rajapaksa, prioritized vaccination as a measure to deal with the pandemic, and despite economic constraints, acted to safeguard the health of the people. Government quarantine and treatment facilities were set up across the island, and approximately 35,000 new beds were added to the hospital system. Due to the extremely successful vaccination drive, more than 85% of the target population of those aged 16 and above have been fully vaccinated as at date. Administering of the booster dose is currently in progress, with approximately 35.5% of the fully vaccinated population having received the booster dose. Presently, Sri Lanka compares favorably to many countries in the world in terms of pandemic control. We have been able to successfully resume normal community life as a result. The government also extended relief packages to those who were severely impacted by the pandemic, including daily wage earners and small businesses. I'm thankful to the Government of Singapore and Temasek Foundation International for the extensive support extended to augment our health sector response to the pandemic. We have received consistent support by way of much needed medical supplies and equipment as donations from Temasek Foundation over the past 2 years, for which we are deeply grateful. Temasek is also partnering with Nanyang Polytechnic International on providing training in the areas of public health and emergency medicine to officials of the Health Ministry this year. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, frontline healthcare and essential workers around the world have made tremendous sacrifices during this pandemic, and I take this opportunity to pay tribute to all of them, particularly in Sri Lanka and Singapore, who have worked tirelessly to keep us safe and are continuing to do so at great personal cost. We must recognize that the challenges surrounding the production, distribution, deployment, and acceptance of the vaccine must be overcome urgently if we are to be able to effectively deal with new strains of the virus. Ensuring that everyone, everywhere is vaccinated appears to be the best way out of this pandemic. Sri Lanka intends establishing a regional knowledge hub in collaboration with the World Health Organization to facilitate exchanges on lessons learned from the pandemic and support countries to recover better. Increased global cooperation visible during this pandemic reiterates the importance of multilateral cooperation in the face of global challenges. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Sri Lanka's economy is gradually beginning to return to normalcy with a clear growth in both the tourism and export sectors. However, a number of challenges still remain. Merchandise export earnings have shown a year-on-year growth of close to 25% in 2021, earning approximately $12.5 billion for the country. Apparel and textiles, coconut and coconut-based products, and rubber and finished rubber products feature prominently in this respect. tourism arrivals stood at 194,495 as of December 2021, and in the month of January alone this year, 82,327 tourist arrivals were recorded. Tourism earnings in 2021 were US dollars 261 million. Sri Lanka was ranked among the top 5 countries to visit by Condé Nast Traveler in 2021 and named as one of the top travel destinations by CNN Travel in January 2022. The iconic Sigiriya Rock Fortress was featured by Bloomberg as one of the new 7 wonders of the world, whilst the readers of Travel and Leisure magazine voted Sri Lanka as one of the top 25 islands to visit. These are a few of the accolades Sri Lanka received as a travel destination in spite of the constraints of the pandemic. Whilst measures have been taken to ease travel restrictions, the tourism and health authorities in Sri Lanka have put in place stringent measures to ensure the safety of those travelling to the country. If we look at bilateral trade in goods between Sri Lanka and Singapore, the trade balance continues to remain heavily in favor of Singapore. In 2021, the bilateral trade in goods was valued at US dollars 819 million, while Sri Lanka exported goods to the value of US dollars 99 million, imports from Singapore was valued at US dollars 720 million. We are looking to close the gap in 2022 with a more robust and diversified trade relationship between Sri Lanka and Singapore. The High Commission has been working with exporters on expanding the range of products that are coming into this market and has done so with some success. We have seen the entry of agri-produce and new packeted food items, with many of these items available on e-commerce platforms and popular supermarket chains. A Sri Lankan ethnic goods store and a Sri Lankan restaurant have also made their debut in Singapore recently. On the tourism side, the launch of the vaccinated travel lane between the two countries is a significant step forward. I take this opportunity to thank colleagues in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Ministry of Transport of Singapore who worked closely with us in making this possible. 557 tourists from Singapore visited Sri Lanka in 2021. This is a decrease of about 78% from the last year. However, we are optimistic that travel for tourist purposes will pick up this year with strong connectivity and the VTL in place. At present, 5 Sri Lankan Airlines and 10 Singapore Airlines flights are operating between Colombo and Singapore on a weekly basis. Travel Guide Singapore carries a center page spread on attractions for travelers to Sri Lanka, including on cuisine and unique products in its February edition, and I encourage you to pick up a copy to better understand our tourism offer. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Sri Lanka is an important emerging market offering excellent investment opportunities. In particular, Sri Lanka is looking to attract investments from Singapore in the renewable energy, urban development, supply chain and logistics, real estate, IT BPO, agri-produce, fisheries and aquaculture, healthcare and pharmaceutical sectors. There are also investment opportunities in the Colombo Port City, which has been set up as a special economic zone. Spanning 269 hectares of reclaimed land from the sea, Port City Colombo is envisaged to be South Asia's premier residential, retail and business destination, offering unmatched planned city living along the warm waters of the Indian Ocean. Singapore is at present the 7th largest investor in Sri Lanka. It has invested a total of US dollars 864 million during the period 2005 to 2021. Of that, US dollars 19 million was invested in 2021. Around 100 Singaporean businesses operate in Sri Lanka, involved in various sectors such as manufacturing, infrastructure development and hospitality. We hope to see more Singapore government-led investments going into Sri Lanka in 2022. Throughout 2021, the High Commission worked with the Ministry of Trade and Industry, the Singapore Business Federation, Enterprise Singapore and other partners to provide exposure to both trade and investment potential of Sri Lanka through a series of webinars, B2B meetings and targeted discussions. We hope to continue this in 2022. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, sustainability is at the heart of our national policy framework, Vistas of Prosperity and Splendor. Sri Lanka's updated nationally determined contributions aims to reduce emissions towards achieving carbon neutrality by 2050. We will increase the contribution of renewable energy sources to 70% of national energy needs by 2030, and we're taking steps to phase out the use of fossil fuels. Sri Lanka is the core lead of the Global Energy Compact for no new coal power. In 2019, Sri Lanka spearheaded the Colombo Declaration on Sustainable Nitrogen Management, which seeks to halve nitrogen waste by 2030. We look forward to more countries joining this initiative. Sri Lanka also leads the Action Group on Mangrove Ecosystems and Livelihoods under the Commonwealth Blue Charter Initiative. Sri Lanka welcomes investments, technology transfers, and climate financing for our ambitious sustainability efforts. The Express Pearl incident demonstrated the vulnerability of coastal states to maritime disasters. Apart from the devastating impact on the environment, there were dire consequences for local communities, particularly fishermen, who lost livelihoods and had to be compensated. The incident is complex as it involved several types of pollutants, including inter alia oil, hazardous chemicals, and plastics. We appreciate the support extended by the Maritime Ports Authority of Singapore from the start of the incident and look forward to continued cooperation. We are also thankful to Singapore-based non-profit Alliance to End Plastic Waste, which donated 8 beach cleaning equipment worth $180,000 to support the efforts of the Sri Lankan authorities. It is extremely important for coastal states to be supported when such disasters occur. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the bilateral relationship between Singapore and Sri Lanka continues to thrive, with cooperation extending to a multitude of areas and fields. Interactions at the highest levels have continued to be maintained, with several official visits scheduled to take place in 2022. Sri Lanka and Singapore are connected historically much more than many realize. It is said that Sri Lanka, then Ceylon, was responsible for inspiring much of Singapore's progress in the beginning. Sri Lankans came to Singapore in the early 1900s and were instrumental in supporting Singapore's nation-building process. They aided developments in the field of civil service, law, medicine, education, engineering, housing, and sport. These linkages clearly demonstrate the lasting ties that exist between the peoples of Singapore and Sri Lanka. We are happy to see the close to 12,000 strong Sri Lankan community continuing to contribute towards the development of both countries. We look forward to more employment opportunities for Sri Lankans in Singapore in the future. The High Commission has been actively engaging with the incubators to secure such opportunities, which we envisage will be realized in 2022. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we ended our celebrations of the 50 years of diplomatic ties between Singapore and Sri Lanka by jointly issuing commemorative stamps in 2021 at ceremonies held in both capitals, with the participation of the two foreign ministers. The stamps feature coral reefs in Sri Lanka and mangroves in Singapore, symbolizing the shared interest in preserving and protecting our natural environment. I take this opportunity to thank all Sri Lankans, including those of Sri Lankan origin in Singapore, and our Singaporean friends for their contribution towards strengthening the relationship between our two countries. In conclusion, I wish to take this opportunity to thank you for being a part of the 74th anniversary celebrations of Sri Lanka's independence. Thank you.
I now cordially invite our guest of honor, His Excellency Desmond Tan, Minister of State, Ministry of Home Affairs and Ministry of Sustainability and Environment of Singapore, to deliver his address.
Your Excellency Sashikala Premavardhani, High Commissioner of the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka, Excellencies and members of the Diplomatic Corps, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening. I'm very honored to join you all today in celebration of Sri Lanka's 74th Independence Day. In the past year, Singapore and Sri Lanka have endeavored to further strengthen and grow our long-standing relations, even in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. Our leaders have continued to engage with each other. Last year, to mark the 50th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations, we collaborated on a joint stamp launch with respective ceremonies held in Singapore and Sri Lanka. Both our foreign ministers participated in the hybrid event in Sri Lanka. At the multilateral fora, we continue to have close and meaningful cooperation given our shared and common interests, including as fellow small island states. The two 50th anniversary commemorative stamps that were commissioned last year showcase the mangroves of Singapore and the coral reefs in Sri Lanka respectively. They highlight the delicate biodiversity of our two small island states, which is a common cause that we are championing collectively. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, ours is a relationship built on firm historical and cultural foundations and can be traced to when we were both keynotes in the ancient maritime trade routes between the Indian Ocean and the Asia Pacific. Today, our trade links have continued to deepen and evolve. Despite the disruption brought about by COVID-19, our two countries have worked together to navigate and overcome challenges to international trade. Our economic collaboration has strengthened with new joint ventures. In the agri-food sector, Simhati is one such success story. It is the product of a 13-month collaboration between Sri Lanka and Singapore food tech startups, Nilu Tea and Asmara. Nilu Tea manufactures the tea leaves in Sri Lanka before shipping them to Asmara, which sells Simhati in Singapore. Our companies have also worked towards the creation of a new e-commerce trade flow of Sri Lankan fast-moving consumer goods through a collaboration between Sri Lankan conglomerate Expolanka and Business Engineers Asia, a Singapore end-to-end logistics and order fulfillment company. Through this partnership, which was launched in November 2021, more Sri Lankan goods are available to Singapore consumers. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as we take this moment to celebrate the achievements in Singapore-Sri Lanka relations over the decades, let us also look ahead to work towards a post-pandemic normal and to capitalize on the recovery that awaits us. On that note, please allow me to extend my heartiest congratulations on the occasion of Sri Lanka's 74th Independence Day. Thank you.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Sri Lanka is ranked among the top 5 wellness tourism destinations in the world because we believe that a journey to Sri Lanka should be an experience for the mind, body, and the soul. Particularly for post-COVID travelers, it offers space for spiritual healing, something we're all looking for as we deal with the challenges of the pandemic. We invite you to discover the many world-class wellness retreats in Sri Lanka that offer a combination of indigenous medicine, Ayurveda, spa treatments, meditation, yoga, and digital detox. Now the island is open and eager to welcome back visitors, and the easing of entry protocol makes it the perfect escape. Here is a glimpse of our wellness offer.
On this island, every morning is a celebration of life, a tribute to nature, an act of faith, a gift from the earth. A moment for reflection. A quest for balance and well-being. For your mind. Your body and your soul. This island is our healer, and her secrets are centuries old. So pure, so natural, so Sri Lanka.
Navika Gurugay started as a young musician researching in 1999. His first serious musical work was Sangyugma, a folk and applied music production with Marcelo Tito Lee, a Bolivian folk musician, in 1999. Since then, he has been working in numerous movies, teledramas, stage dramas, songs, and popular reality TV shows. While pursuing his career as a composer, singer, and instrumentalist, Gurugay currently works as the head of the School of Music at the Faculty of Arts and Sciences at the Sri Lanka Technological Campus. Today, he's presenting us with a musical performance composed using traditional music elements of Sri Lanka. The first segment of the song describes the process of collecting honey from giant honeybee's nest, locally known as Bambarawada. The second segment describes the art of using reeds of the pan plant abundant on wetland riverbanks and in the marshes to make matting to be used as floor coverings on which people sat or slept. And the third segment is about Shanti Karma and other forms of ancient traditional rituals of Sri Lanka.
බැදවටට සූදු මුරමල් පිපිලා සදකර වමරුගේ වග කියලා ගිඩිත් පැනීත් ලෝව හැමටම බෙදලා යන්න වමුරු දුක මැසිවිලි Ever සුරතට රැගෙන පන්දම යාගෙට නැදුර වමතට විදුරු මිනියා රැගෙන නද කළා මෙලෙසට උපත පන්දම යාග කවි කළා මෙඔබට නාවා ඩාන්සම දෝසා දුරු කරා සුරතට රැගෙන පන්දම යාගෙට නැදුර වමතට විදුරු මිනියා රැගෙන නද කළා මෙලෙසට උපත පන්නම යාග කවි කළා මෙඔබට නාවා ඩාන්සම දෝසා දුරු කරා
The Sri Lankan Tamil community's contributions towards the development of Singapore are well recognized. They are a proud reflection of Sri Lanka's diversity and its talent. The Singapore-Sri Lanka relationship is underpinned by these shared cultural values and strong people-to-people linkages. Apsara's Dance Academy Singapore, headed by Mr. Arvind Kumarasamy, a Sri Lankan-origin Singaporean, is presenting a Bharatanatyam performance, which is one of the oldest dance forms practiced by Tamils across the world.
The dualities of material existence, namely distress and happiness, cold and heat, can be quelled by one whose mind adopts the transcendental position controlled by the Supreme or the Paramatma. One whose mind remains undisturbed amidst misery, who does not crave pleasure, and who is free from attachment, fear, and anger, is called a sage of steady wisdom. Drawing from the guiding verses of the Bhagavad Gita, the Tilala celebrates duality and seeks achieving oneness.
Dim tim natritani tom tontritani tom dim tim natritani tom tontritani tom dim dim takaton tom takadim taton ta nam tana dirana dim tim natritani tom tontritani tom dim tim natritani tom tontritani tom dim dim takaton takadim taton ta nam tana dirana dim dum dim dim natru tani dum dim dim taka do do taka dim do tanam tana di tana dim dim natru tani dum dim dim natru tani dum dim dim taka do do taka dim do tanam tana di tana Nadru tani dum 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 dim dim taka do do नग प्रसन्नता परमात्मा समाहितः शीतोषण सुख दुःखेषु कथमानग प्रमाणयगो दुःखेषु अनुविघ्नमनग सुखेषु विकटस्फटः विदधा च त्रयक्रोधः चित्तादे मुनिपूज्यते किटचं प्रतनतों प्रतिरन तिनतानि तिरन किटचं प्रतनतों प्रतिरन तिनतानि तिरन ताचं किटतक तरिगिटतों ताचं किटतक तरिगिटतों ताचं कणं तरु तदि तां ताचं कणं तरु तदि दी दी ताचं कणं तरु तदि
We now invite you to enjoy a fusion dance specially created and choreographed by the Sri Lankan Air Force Cultural Troupe for this event, showcasing the upcountry and the low-country dance traditions.
Now we are going to witness a glamorous fusion dance act which blended with upcountry and low-country dancing styles. This dance act included West dancers, Telme dancers, gorgeous female dancers, devil dancers and Sri Lankan traditional drummers. Enjoy the fusion dance.
11-year-old Alexander Mark DeMille, born in Sri Lanka with a penchant for artistic expression, currently resides in Singapore and splashes the colors of Sri Lanka through his artwork, demonstrating his love for the beautiful landscapes of the land of his origin. Ladies and gentlemen, we present Artistic Expressions of Sri Lanka by Alexander Mark DeMille.
I am Alexander from Art, Singapore. I now express the colors of Sri Lanka on the canvas. Planting the flag makes me miss the beautiful country. Sri Lanka, a land full of natural colors, rain and alcohol. It's really with nature and people. The colors of Sri Lanka, the race earth. This style, 24 years of weather, blues and greens. I am proud to be a first Aussie celebration and would like to wish you a happy National Day Sri Lanka. Celebrating all the specialty students in Sri Lanka.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the formal proceedings of this virtual event. It was certainly a pleasure to have you with us to celebrate our beloved nation's 74th Independence Day. On behalf of the High Commissioner of Sri Lanka, Her Excellency Sashikala Premawardena, we thank you for gracing this occasion. Thank you and have a wonderful evening.